Welcome back. We are the Brothers Mahoney. This is Michael.
And I am James.
And tonight we are discussing Dot and Babel, which is the fifth episode of the newest season of Doctor Who, which aired May 31st for us in the USA and June 1st for those overseas on Disney Plus, written by Russell T. Davies. And the plot, sort of an interesting one. Fine Time seems a bright and happy place, but an awful terror is preying on the oblivious citizens living there. Can the Doctor and Ruby make them see the truth before it's too late? And as a lot of us suspected, and I'm going to assume it was confirmed, but who's to say what was confirmed beforehand, this did have sort of a reduced role for both the Doctor and Ruby. We primarily follow the main character. Her name is Lindy Papo Bean, played by actress Callie Cook, but we primarily follow her character as she sort of in a way shows us the day-to-day life living in Fine Time.
The day-to-day life including John Slugs, correct?
Apparently there is the day-to-day life now. They are lucky people.
They are indeed. But yeah, no, so their life, like I want to say it sucks, but I suppose for them they don't think it sucks. Basically, they wake up, they automatically activate this, I don't want to call it an AI screen. It's kind of like if you had Facebook in front of your eyes at all time. They wake up, they call out Dot, this mechanical, small, I guess you could call it robot thingy, pops up. Then they say Babel, and a Babel of screens pops up around their heart, and that's basically how they spend their entire day. They don't actually interact with the physical world. They just talk to the friends and look at things on the screen while they're going about their day-to-day life. Honestly, I think it'd bore me after a while, but I'm not nearly as vivid as these people.
Yeah, it's really fascinating because, like James said, they're constantly surrounded by this Babel. When they walk places, first of all, it's like the Babel's directing them. It says forward, 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 turn left, turn right. So this Babel is sort of getting them around where they need to go. I mean, they might walk outside, but they don't see outside, out of focus. I guess they could. I guess there is technically a way to lower your Babel's color or light so you could see beyond it. And naturally could always to Babel after if they choose to, but it sounds like they pretty much never choose to. They do work, such as it is. I think it's like a 2-hour shift. And it seems to me they primarily just sit there as there's some type of processing thing going on.
Yeah, something about data organization.
Yeah, hey, but I guess work is work, am I right? When they go to and from work, they're pretty much just following what this program, it is like an AI thing that this robot is a part of that sort of just directs them to and from home. It's sort of like technology sort of holding their hand, and it's pretty much all they have. Fine Time has a very sort of what I would call a Barbie-esque vibe to it. Now, to be clear, I've not seen the Barbie movie. It came out like last year, 2 years ago. I don't even know anymore. But it had a very specific like color palette in its trailer, and that's the type of color scheme you see in this episode. It's all like sort of bright and sort of artificial and shiny. It's sort of difficult to explain, but it has a very particular look to it, and that's what Fine Time seems to possess. Everyone there is between the ages of, what was it, like 17 and 27?
That's what they said, although I could have sworn there were people who looked older than that, but who knows.
Yeah, there's that guy at the end with the long hair who, I mean, he was probably 27, but he had to be like on the later end of things. He definitely looked like he could have been like 30, 31 or so.
Yeah, I mean, even Ricky looked, to me anyway, looked like he was older than
that age range. He's just a total dreamboat, so they always seem more mature.
Well, to be fair, I'm guessing that he wasn't wearing any makeup, like he probably would have worn during his, what did he do, sing?
Yeah, well, yeah, sing or dancing to singing, there's like some good stuff. But yeah, as James sort of mentioned earlier, there seems to be a bit of a slag problem here in Fine Time. Now that Lindy knows, like I said, she's in her Bible the whole time. Everyone in the society is in the Bible the whole time. So while the father people are being eaten by slugs, they're literally oblivious and unaware to it. The Doctor and Ruby try to slide into Lindy's DMs, as the kids say, just to try to warn her. Apparently, they can't get in. I'm not sure if Findham's a city. Let's just call it a city.
Yeah, I'm not sure. From the outside, it looks like it's covered in a huge bubble dome. Funnily enough, another bubble.
That is true. But it seems like the Doctor and Ruby can't get into the city. So all they can do is try to interact with these people through the social media, constant social media lives, and try to warn them. But we're talking about trying to warn a brick wall. Like, these people are totes oblivious.
Sorry, not sorry. As Lindy literally says in this episode. She actually had a lot of really great / horrible little exclamations. I don't remember many of them, but they were terrible, but they were also kind of hilarious at the same time.
Yeah, and a lot of people, when this episode, I guess when the trailer first dropped, thought this was primarily going to be a critique on technology. I saw a lot of people sort of worried there would be sort of not necessarily a bad episode, but more of a mid-episode critiquing technology from a perspective of the older individuals out there. But it really comes across at first more of a attack on privilege in a way, because the people at Fine Time, they're literally in their own bubble. They're in the social media bubble. They talk to only the people they want to talk to, because they can block you if you try to reach out to them. They can just block you and talk to who they want to talk to. They can, I mean, I don't know how many people live in Fine Time. I got the sense it didn't seem particularly, I guess there were 20 people with the same surname. So I guess it probably did have a sizable population. But
yeah, it's really hard to tell just from looking at it.
Yeah, everyone's just in their own bubble, not interacting really in the flesh, just talking to people through the screens. And yeah, they had such an air of privilege. I guess we don't know that many of them, but Lindy certainly was an annoying character. I mean, you can sort of feel bad for her. She's put in a situation in which she has to drop her bubble, and she can't even walk without the bubble. She can't keep the coordination to know what she's doing without something telling her, hey, you have to move forward.
Yeah, she also has no depth perception.
Yeah, I guess she didn't need it. She was born with a silver spoon in mouth, so who needs depth perception if you're rich?
Yeah, she literally was just told by this dot, because again, she's looking at these screens now, these faces in front of her. She's never actually looking at the wall. She's just told forward, 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 turn left, turn right. And she just follows these directions without any conceptualization of what it actually means. So she can't walk when she's directed how to walk. When it's just left to herself, she might not know what left is. It's just conceptually fascinating to me. And I wasn't sure how much we were supposed to sympathize with her at first, because we see her, and automatically, the entire way the society is, will made you hate it. But to be fair, she didn't create her society, she just lives in it. So I was thinking, okay, maybe we're supposed to sympathize with her, we're supposed to dislike her a bit, maybe she grows as a person when she finds out about the real world and what it's actually like. And I was thinking there'll be something akin to Sansa's Talk from the Song of Ice and Fire series, who used Toad of, I would assume most people don't like her because of her attitude, but she grows as a person and she changes and she learns. And that's what I thought we were going to get with this character, but that's not quite what we get at the end.
Yeah, there's a couple of moments in this episode where we sort of get more idea of what's going on. When this episode starts, we're sort of just thrown into it. We're following this young woman, and then all of a sudden, the doctor tries to send her a message, but she just, I don't know, it's a Tinder thing, swipes right or left or something, but just ignores him basically. Then Ruby's able to gain her attention. She actually talks to Ruby. She finds out that, hey, these monsters, these slug type things seem to be killing people. And she should have known this if she was maybe a bit more observant. A bunch of people on the France list, I didn't call it a France list, but it's a type of thing, have just gone missing or they haven't been online. And she just, I guess, she's taking in so much content from other people that she just didn't notice the people who aren't there, which is really easy to do, I guess, if you have 60, 70 people you're watching. Who, if one guy doesn't show up, who's to say you would even notice? we find out that Fine Time is a place where pretty much if you're wealthy and rich, you have the right to go there, I guess. Her parents, Lindy's parents, paid God knows how much money so she could be in Fine Time. And the whole, I guess, culture, like the social media, the privilege, the influencer too. Like there's a bunch of like people like obsessed about followers and stuff. Like this Ricky September guy, everyone likes Ricky September, everyone follows him. So yeah, it's these people aren't easy to root for. Like you can feel bad for the situation they're in, but Lindy is annoying from the very beginning. And yeah, like James said, it could be a situation where you criticize the culture, but you sort of hope for the best with the character. Like it's not Sansa's fault in Song of Ice and Fire that she's an annoying. I mean, she's what 13 in the first book. I can't even remember.
She's 12. Maybe even 11, but I think it's 12. I forget.
Yes, so you can't really blame a 11 or 12-year-old girl in that specific culture for being the way she is. So yeah, I mean, who can really blame Lindy for the way she is? It's difficult, but we do learn that Fine Time is a place for rich people, and these people tend to be or seem to be pretty privileged. But that's not the only thing we find out.
We find out the slugs are based.
Yeah, well, pretty much. So a lot of this episode seems sort of lighthearted, might be a bit strong, but it seems very much in the typical Russell T Davies monstery fashion.
I would say it's even more lighthearted than the typical Russell T Davies thing, though. On the whole, I felt like it was obviously discounting what we learned at the end, which we're building up to. I thought on the whole it was supposed to be even more lighthearted than the normal fare you'd expect from Russell T Davies. For example, there was music that played during certain scenes that was just funny. It was this romantic music, kind of swelling when Lindy first sees Ricky in person. And ignoring the fact that she's seen some things that day, she kind of just, oh my gosh, it's Ricky. And Ricky's trying to get them out of there, but she's just kind of house track, and it's hilarious. The look on her face is absolutely ridiculous during that scene.
Yeah, Ricky's able to sort of save her from some slaggy boys. Well, I guess she would have been probably fine. She wasn't on the list yet.
Ironically enough, yes, she would have been fine. But she didn't know that at the time.
But so Ricky is able to save her from some slaggy boys, but she's sort of like, she has this like big puppy love thing, like, oh, this is like a major celebrity, it's Ricky September. And yeah, she's all like gooey-eyed over him.
I'm not sure if I have heard the term gooey-eyed in 20 years, but
I'm not sure if that's actually a term or if I might be combining two things. So, but that's okay. Now, Ricky himself, we don't necessarily learn a ton about him, but he seems a bit more down to earth.
Yeah, honestly, like, we say that we can't blame Lindy, but she still, in fact, has a mind. We learn that Ricky, he dad and babbles, which is a nice term for it. I don't think they said that, I'm saying it. He dad and babbles to record his dancing that gets him also popular. I think he has some of the most followers in Fine Time. And then he tells Lindy that he just turns his dad off. And then he goes and reads. He reads histories, and he just spends his day reading. He doesn't watch and interact with people on social media all day, every day. He spends his time reading. Which, hey, that would be great if you could literally sit around all day and just read. So as nice as Ricky seems, certainly in comparison to the others, and is independent-minded, he's still pretty privileged.
Oh, obviously, just being there, he was able to get this somehow. Either he paid or his family paid. I mean, you sometimes see some people from wealthy backgrounds, I guess, try to help out in the best ways they can. And Ricky seems like he could be one of those types of people. I mean, reading history books and not interacting with other people all the time, that does seem like, well, it does him well.
Ricky, and he can walk.
Well, yeah, because he doesn't have his Bible on all the time. He can actually walk, like a human being, a guy with 2 legs. And I mean, that's helped Lindy out having 2 legs. In fact, she walked into a lamppost twice in like 10 seconds. That's a pretty funny scene.
That was absolutely hilarious. But no, I said that loud there because I just remembered how absolutely hilarious it was one of the compliments she gives Ricky is, "You walk so well."
Yeah, she also says that this might be the best day of her life. And Ricky's like, well, you know there are like thousands of people dying. And like Jim said, she has this like goofy smile on her face. She's just starstruck basically meeting Ricky, and she's just
Yeah, her answer is, "Yeah, but still."
yeah. You can see that Ricky doesn't quite know how to deal with it, but it's like whatever. I'm trying to save this person. So now he may have made a mistake though, because during a quality, I don't know, I think a tonal shifting part of the episode, she sort of throws Ricky under the bus. Now, this is after the Doctor and Ruby. They've been wondering all episode, hey, why do these slugs eat some people and leave others alone? Because, well, like we said, they can walk with the barbel. Some of them just walk right by the slugs. Slugs don't bother them. So the Doctor and Ruby have been wondering this all episode. The Doctor finally figures out that they are going after people based on their surnames. And because dramatics must win the Davil drives, it happens to be that Papa Lindy Bean is coming up next on the menu. But we don't see a dramatic encounter with the slag hombres. Instead, the Doctor says that he's concerned because if they're going after people based on surnames, they must have been created to do that. So then he suggests that perhaps the AI, this robotic dot thing, and I sort of wonder, by the way, there were references to Homeworld, so it sounds like they were born on Homeworld and they're sent to Fine Time, if they choose to be. Do they have dots on Homeworld?
I think they kind of have to, considering what we learn happens to Homeworld. By the way, you might think Homeworld sounds so simplistic, but literally, this woman, Lindy, who access those seas 16 or maybe even younger, but I think it's actually at least her 20s, maybe she's even older. It's just that the way that they act is just so kind of childlike. She literally, and people have their own culture things, but at her age, she still calls her mother mommy. Seriously. She's not being cutesy, she just calls her mommy.
Yeah, she hasn't gotten much in my view of real world experience.
I
But
don't think she knows what the real world is. There are tons of hilarious things. For example, imagine that they walk for 2 hours a day. One, she complains about that because it's so boring. Even though this walk is literally, again, just her talking to her friends, which is how they do anyway. So I don't see why it's any different. Maybe it's boring because they aren't walking. And then, but she complains that her hands get chapped because they're on the interface of the machine that automatically, I'll point out, they don't actually have to do any thinking, which is good because this will never get done. And yet she has the nerve to complain that her hands get chapped. So yeah, absolutely no real world or really any world experience in any way at all. She doesn't even know when she needs to use the bathroom. She has to ask her dad.
yeah, and you have to imagine that most people in this society are probably much in the same vein. But the Doctor then suggests that this dot, this AI, after having to listen to these rapid conversations day in and day out for however long Fine Time's been a thing, has learned to sort of hate these people. And I mean, who can blame that after listening to? I mean, even watching this episode, some people suggest that Lindy Papa Bean might be one of the most annoying people in the history of Doctor Who, and honestly, it's like a top 10 contender.
I mean, the funny thing is, I saw some people on Twitter saying they almost couldn't watch the episode, or maybe they stopped the episode because of how goddamn annoying these people were. The entire culture is a vapid travesty.
Yeah, and so because of that, it seems like this dot AI somehow created these slugs to go after these people and after Homeworld. But we'll touch on that a bit later. That's not relevant right now. So they're about to this like floating dot thing is about to attack Lindy, but then she sort of throws Ricky September under the bus. Remember, Ricky saved her, and she's been like sort of eyeing him ever since because she likes his smooth body or whatever. But she throws him under the bus saying, "Oh, hey, his last name is what was it? Combs?
I think there's Combs, yeah.
that he changed his name to September after he got like big once he got over like 50,000 followers. But his real last name is Combs. So while he's being killed, and spoiler, he gets killed, she's able to escape. And yeah, you can see the heartbreak in that guy's eyes, by the way. Like, really, you're doing this to me after I saved you, bro?
I don't know if it's heartbreak. I think it's more just disbelief. Although you have to wonder how many people in this society has he ever actually interacted with on any non-superficial level. I'm going to guess honestly 0.
I would suspect very many. We get to the climax of the episode. Lindy is able to get to this. It's like an underground river type thing. The Doctor and Ruby are there. Like, they said they were outside the city. Apparently, outside the city means a sewer system.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure how that worked. I assume it was just beyond what was counted as the city, because the door that Lindy went through when she left Ricky behind did look kind of more heavy duty than a door needs to look. So I guess it technically was outside the city, but he could have just said, hey, I'm literally waiting for you guys in the sewers. But he doesn't, so that's fine.
Of course, it's possible that Lindy would have known about sewer and mud, or she would have gone anywhere. It's like, oh, sewers, that's not a place for me. That's a place for you people, which is a perfect segue, because it's discovered that these people in this fine time location, they are indeed privileged. They come from wealthy backgrounds. I mean, and honestly, in this type of culture, it seems like money's not even really a thing. I mean, in fine time, it's probably a thing in the home world, but it doesn't, like, can you imagine there being cafes in fine time? I guess we don't see how they eat or anything like that, but I have a feeling like it's not really a Starbucks you go to and pick up a frappe latte grande thing in this society. It just doesn't seem like that would be part of it. So I'm not really sure.
Especially when who's going to solve it. I guess it could all be machinery. Because there's no way these people know how to make food.
Yeah, so we never saw that aspect. But yeah, so not only are these people privileged and come from wealthy backgrounds, there also seems to be a tinge of racism in society.
You know, this was honestly masterfully done by Russell T. Davies. I mean, when you're watching this episode, you'll notice things every now and then, or maybe you won't even notice it. You'll be watching it, you'll be consuming the media, and you'll be thinking, oh, she calls the Doctor stupid. Well, maybe she just thinks his ideas are stupid. Or she calls the Doctor mean. Or maybe that's just because the Doctor's acting like the Doctor usually does, is kind of not being polite, trying to save her life, but not being polite about it. Or she blocks the Doctor automatically, but she talks to Ruby. Well, Ruby is talking to her nicer. Maybe that's why, and maybe she identifies with her more. Or she is surprised that the Doctor and Ruby are in the same room, and it looks like on the interface they're in separate rooms. Maybe that just means she's not used to people being in the same room together, because in their society, usually people are in the same room together, but they're almost never on the same screen together. But no, she's just racist. Because the line when the Doctor at the end, in the scene that we'll talk about in a bit more detail, because I thought it was a strange thing for the Doctor to say in the first place, when the Doctor tries to say, hey, you guys can come with us on the TARDIS, we can save you. And they refuse, Lindy and a couple of friends behind her. And I'm going to just quote it, because it was a holy fucking shit moment. And it recontextualizes the entire episode. And all of these things that we were seeing, but thinking it's just related to one part of the culture, the Vaberness, when it's related to a whole nother part of the culture. This is Lindy's reply to the Doctor offering to help them. Because you, sir, are not one of us. I mean, you are kind, although it was your duty to save me, obviously. That's the Vaberness. I mean, screen-to-screen contact is just about acceptable, but in person? Impossible. And you can see the look on Ruby's face as she's saying this, and you can see Ruby's already done with this. And then the person behind Lindy says that a box big on the inside is just voodoo, which is so racially tinged. And furthermore, that it doesn't matter where we end up living, because it is our God-given duty to maintain the standards of fine time forever. And it's implied, well, I mean, I don't know if it's implies even the right word, it's just stated, the standards do not include black people, like the Doctor. That's not within those standards.
And this is after, of course, the Doctor saves all of these people from being eaten by what we learn as and what James said would be based slugs. These slugs be eating rich, racist white people who isn't on the slug side?
Honestly, all of Twitter, at least most of Twitter I've seen Doctor Who Twitter, were like, oh, cool. The slugs, I'm sorry we doubted you. I haven't seen anybody. I mean, granted, maybe people could say, oh, the AI was mean. The AI didn't trust the system or whatever. But maybe laborers are going to have their own takes on what the AI sort of done and sort of tout the racists. But no, I say the slugs were right in eating the racists. Sorry, not sorry. Really not sorry. Team Slug.
It was nice to see all the slug solidarity afterwards.
It was actually kind of hilarious. There's so much Slug solidarity. I love it.
And yeah, like James said, that was sort of a jaw-dropping moment. Like, you're sort of hoping for an episode that seemed to be as lighthearted as it was going for, would have sort of a deeper ending to it. And like James said, this didn't come out of nowhere. It's one of the things where if you happen to rewatch the episode, you might see small things, like the way that she's interacting with the Doctor, some of the small things that she might be saying, that sort of gives off vibes of her not particularly caring for the Doctor. And finding out that it has a racist element to it at the end, especially, like I said, after the Doctor saves all of them. Well, the Doctor himself even has a bit of a minor breakdown at that. He just starts laughing unbelievably and screaming. I guess at this juncture, we can talk a bit about why that scene seemed a bit strange, but yeah, the Doctor was having a sort of a breakdown. Ruby was sort of crying in the back, crying to his side. I guess his people did want to be saved. Now, I don't know if it's necessarily a matter of saving them. The idea was that once they got out of the city and away from the slugs, they could, I guess, make a sort of new civilization in the forest. Like, Time is right next to a bunch of, they call it, there's some like fancy name for it, but it's like a big forested area. So the idea was they could leave on this underground river, start a new society, and they might be okay. I mean, sure, some of them probably have no idea how to cook food, but they might be able to make it a week or so. I really don't know.
A week? I think you're giving them way too much credit.
But yeah, so that's the type of thing that you'd think the Doctor would probably be like, hey, make your own way type thing. I was saying, oh, look at the ingenuity of the humans just going forward. I mean, who's to say these people are human?
Well, we know they're not human. At least we know they're not completely human. We do see somebody get dragged away from a slug at one point, and they actually do have blue blood, which is actually, now that I said, another little hint.
Oh, that's funny. I didn't think about that, but that's true. But as Peter Capaldi said, only humans could be that racist. I forget his exact quote, but it's good stuff.
That was pretty good.
Some classic thin ice reference there. The Doctor, I would think, would be of the mindset of, it's great to see these people going out on their own and trying to make something, or just try to survive on their own, be the pioneers and such. But Gatwa might be a bit more compassionate. Maybe he thinks, and I don't, who can blame him after interacting with Lindy for as long as he's been interacting with her. Maybe he thinks that they just could have cut the mustard. It's like, hey, you either come with me or you guys are going to die in like 5 days and 3 days. But like James says, because of the racist attitudes, they just completely refuse. They're not going to do it. They can't travel with him. They can barely stand to talk to him in person. It's intolerable to them.
Yeah, literally one of the guys says, get away from him before you're contaminated. So traveling with him is never going to work. These people, they think they're going to be fine. I don't know how they can possibly think that, except the fact that they're completely oblivious. These people are basically walking to their deaths because they won't just accept help from this person because of his skin color.
Yeah, and the Doctor's like literally begging them, like, hey, after it comes out that they're racist. He's sort of sharp. He's like, hey, you can think whatever you want. You can say whatever you want. Just let me save you. And they just don't. To be fair, the Doctor already saved them, but saving them more from like dying from nature. And yeah, it's a really heartbreaking scene after a lighthearted episode like this. It's a very dark scene. Even the music, when the Doctor and Ruby go back into the tower just alone, it's a sort of really dark, sort of grim music. Doctor isn't able to save any of these people. Like, they all get on that board in the underground river and go off.
Yeah, and the Doctor just, without any words, he's so disgusted. He let out this, I don't even know what to call it, the sound. It was this primal just noise. I knew Sam crying, and he just, I can't imagine him ever thinking back on this event with any joy, because it was just a horrible thing to experience, that he got these people to a place where he could have saved them completely, but they just refused in a way that he had never experienced before.
Yeah, and I think, like James said, I think it was sort of really well done. I think there were some complaints saying, oh, it seemed like it came out of nowhere. I mean, the fact that all the people in Findham are white, I'll be honest, I didn't catch that. I think, James, you said you did.
I did catch that, yes. I didn't know if they were going to do anything with it, but I did catch that.
Yeah, so but I didn't catch that. But like I said, there's a lot of small things that come up that once you watch it back, it sort of recontextualizes, like, again, James said. And I thought there was a really strong ending. I mean, Gatwa's performance in that scene alone was fantastic. And even Ruby's, I mean, she's just sort of choking back tears with the doctor sort of having this mini breakdown. It's a really strong scene. One other thing, and perhaps in the scheme of things, the large scheme of things, worth mentioning, Susan Trist pops up again. She's popped up in, well, quite a few things. Now, we talked about her in previous episodes. And here she plays Lindy's mother. At one point, she gets sort of like an automated call, like just reminding her, oh, hey, you have what to call. Just call up to Homeworld. I'm here for you. It's Lindy's mother, played by Susan Trist. And the Doctor and Ruby have gone through this rodeo enough times before, and they actually both recognize her.
Yeah, and of course, as I completely expected, the Doctor recognizes her first and foremost as the face of the ambulance during Boom, because that was extremely traumatic. It was right in front of him for a good person, and yeah, there's no way he was going to forget that face after that. And Ruby, where she recognizes the face from, it's not made quite as clear, because they decide that they should just talk about it later, because they're dealing with something else right now. They are talking about it in front of somebody like Lindy, who has, to be fair, she's not wrong, because in this, no comprehension of what they're talking about. But it seems like Ruby might very well be recognizing her from the experience she had with the hiker in 73 Yards. Now, of course, that timeline was made void, but we saw even at the end of 73 Yards that she had, at least right then and there, some recollection of the events, because of the way that she answered 2 to the amount of time she's been there. And then at the end of the episode, she answers 3. And then she's like, 3, I guess, the 3rd time's right now. She was obviously able to retain some of the information. And I think she kind of had, not a psychic flash, but she just had the flash of that moment. And that's where she mostly remembers her from.
Yeah, so it was nice to see finally the Doctor and Ruby actually recognizing her. And you see this joke all over Twitter in the last couple of episodes, actually. Just a scene where they might be recognizing who she is, and just oh, but they are recognizing me, in a reference to the giggle and the toy maker. But yeah, it was nice to see that they finally recognize her. I sort of wonder if she's going to even appear in this next episode, Susan Trist, as an actress. I would sort of doubt it, because unless it could be at the very end, leading directly into the final 2-parter.
I think that's the only way that would make sense.
Yeah, but otherwise, I think it'll get too distracting with whatever else is going on. But I thought it was fascinating that finally they recognized her, and I'm sort of curious what they're doing off screen. Once they get over the shock of how this episode ended, what the discussions about what she actually is going with.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that in the first place, the first time we see her is at the beginning of one of the 60th anniversary passes, Wild Blue Yonder, where she was, I'm going to say a maid, doesn't seem like the right term, and she was working under, who was it?
Yeah, and a Wild Blue Yonder, that would have been, I think, Galileo.
Ah, okay, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, because of the Atlas and Mavity, as it is. But that's the first time we see Susan Trist's character, and that's at the beginning of Wild Blue Yonder. Now, of course, at the end of Wild Blue Yonder, 45 minutes in, 75% of the way, is the scene where the Doctor uses the South, which then unleashes more fantastical elements into the universe, such as the Toymaker, such as the Maestro, such as perhaps the fairies, or the fairies are already shown to exist as early as the tortured episode Small Warlords, which is pretty good actually, but that aside. Which means whatever Susan Trist is, either that was the quote-unquote original Susan Trist, whatever her actual name is, and somehow she gets splintered, like, for example, Clara does, or else, I'm not sure what or else, but the point is, whatever she is, she was released into the universe by the South. Hypothetically, she would sort of already have been an existing entity in the universe.
Yeah, and this is something that James mentioned that, I'll be honest, I forgot. I mean, I guess I never thought about it, because I knew she first appeared in Wild Blue Yonder, but it never struck me that she wasn't... Whatever's going on with this character, or the multiple characters she plays, I always thought it was because of what the Doctor did at the end of Wild Blue Yonder. But since she appeared before any of that stuff happened, theoretically she can't be a result from it. Unless it's like the last place the TARDIS visited before they went to the space station in Wild Blue Yonder. For some reason, like, that would be impacted. It's not quite clear why that would be the case. But I do find it interesting, and I'm really curious. Honestly, that's the thing I'm most interested in. Like, I'll be honest, I don't care who Ruby's mother is. Like, it doesn't interest me whatsoever. I'm not saying there won't be an interesting answer. There might be, but I just don't care. The snow memory thing, we saw it a handful of times. I don't care. Like, ooh, she's Iceman. I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. But I am really curious about this whole Susan Trist thing. Much like I'm also very curious about whether or not Mrs. Flood is anything important. May just be a red herring this whole time. Maybe people are supposed to be focused on Flood, but hey, there's always a Susan Trist in the end. That joke never gets old. But I'm really curious about the Trist thing, and I'm happy that the Doctor and Ruby have finally figured out that something is amiss.
Yeah, and ironically, maybe it's going to sound bad, I don't know, but I don't really care about this upcoming episode, which I believe is called Rogue. I just want to figure out, again, I agree with Michael, I don't really care now about the math. I kind of care what Ruby might be, because I don't know if she's completely human, but I want to see that revealed, and that's obviously not going to happen in Rogue. So I'm expecting, at least for me, Rogue is going to be probably an okay episode. Obviously, this episode was, I think a lot of people were expecting it to be what it seemed like at first, and nobody was expecting it, at least before we started it. Nobody was expecting what it became. Some people immediately called on, hey, wait, they're all white. Hey, wait, she literally just blocked the Doctor, but she's talking to Ruby. Oh, wait, she said that he looked stupid. Some people called on to that automatically, and some people, even by the end of the episode, are like, how are they racist? It was kind of actually great. The people who can't go back, and as we've said before, recontextualize the events, those people might have certain blinders on they need to take off in terms of privilege. But, I don't care about Rogue at all. I just want to see how this gets revealed. But we're going to have to go through Rogue first, and I guess Rogue will be fun. It'll be another historical episode, around 1800s UK?
Yeah, I think we looked it up, and it was like something like the mid to late 1800s. It's not actually clear to me. I could tell based on the little clip we saw whether or not these alien type things, it could be a thing like Monogra, where it's not in the past. It's like a future thing where they sort of cosplay in the mid to late 1800s. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just not convinced yet. I'm also hoping for a decent time, but I'm also much more curious about how this season ends. Generally speaking, though, I did quite enjoy Dad and Babel. In fact, I sort of have a controversial take, which my second favorite episode of the season. Like, some people might have 73 yards up there. Well, I enjoyed this more than 73 yards. 73 yards might have been certainly more innovative, more unique. But in terms of actual enjoyment, Dad and Babel for the win, am I right?
I would have to agree that on the whole, I would have to say I like this more than 73 yards. Just because I have so many unanswered questions about 73 yards. And the story is less enjoyable to me personally because these questions weren't answered. Whereas here, yes, I have questions that I would like answers to, but the story still completely works without having those answers. And the ending, again, was in some ways unexpected, but still really good. So I would say, I don't know about my second favorite, I'd have to look at the episodes again, but certainly out of all of the ones we've seen with Ncuti Gatwa, I would say this certainly has to be in the top 3. Obviously, Boom was extremely good. This one is good. And I guess if it's literally just those 5, I guess 6 counting the Christmas past, I guess it has to be number 2. I mean, 73 yards, I didn't hate it, but again, I just have unanswered questions.
Yeah, and some people would also have the Davies Code, like maybe as a number 2. I mean, some people like the Davies Code more than Boom. I mean, it's our personal preference. But like I said, in terms of enjoyment, I really think Dad and Babel, it really overexceeded my expectations. It's not a perfect episode. There were still questions I don't quite get. So we learned that these slag things were theoretically created by the AI, the Adat, and they were eating people in fine time based on their surnames. But we also saw a scene in which Ricky September was reaching out to Homeworld asking for help, and he sees that it looks like it's been destroyed. It looks like a wasteland. It's in ruins, and there's like this slaggy boy overseeing it. So apparently, not only were the slags in fine time, they were also at some point sent to the homeworld, but they were sent there before they were eating people in fine time. It's not quite clear to me what the timeline is. It's actually not quite clear. I guess if it's AI, they can control ships and they can get them there. It's just not quite clear to me exactly how that worked. And they never really went into that because surely I'm naturally all about the racism and not much about the slags. So they didn't answer every question here either, but it's naturally, like James said, it's nothing like 73 yards. It's just like small things I wish they would have gone into a bit more detail on. But yeah, I thought Dad and Bob was a pretty solid episode. Like I said early on, it had sort of a classic RTD feel to it. I had a pretty good time with it. But that was just our thoughts. If you have any kind words you would like to say about the based slags, you can let us know below or on Twitter. I think, James, you already retweeted a bunch of pro slag material.
I support Comrade Slag. I don't know to tell you, I've been changed. Honestly, I've not been changed, but seriously, I thought it was kind of hilarious how the slags automatically have everybody's support.
Yeah, we all thought they were the monsters when they were the true heroes, and it's comforting to see people understand.
Our friends with the slags who met along the way.
Indeed. So let us know what you thought about the slags, or the episode, I guess either way. But yeah, that has been our take on Dad and Babel. Naturally, you can always reach out to us on Twitter at Brothers Mahoney. But that is all for now. We will catch you next week with Rogue. This has been the Brothers Mahoney. I'm Michael.
And I'm James.
Thanks for listening very much. Sorry, not sorry.